Call this meeting of the Topsham Select Board to order from the Donald A. Russell Meeting Room, June 19, 2025. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, you call the roll, please?
I will. Roland Tufts.
Here.
Marie Brilliant. Here. Ann Callahan. Here. Ryan Holmes.
Here.
Matt Nixon. And everyone is present. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next up, Town Manager's Report.
Good evening. The state's contractor has begun the process of upgrading the infrastructure connections that connect the traffic lights that are on Route 196, Pleasant Street in Brunswick, and the two main streets. There's going to be the ability for the lights to be controlled by certain town vehicles if we choose. For instance, our plow trucks could control them, keep the lights green as they're plowing in the winter or something. There's also going to report the traffic conditions to Waze in order to assist people with their routes as it gets people through this mid-coast area. You may have seen in the press that our community paramedic grant was withdrawn after being awarded due to issues with the state receiving money from the federal government. We've been told the money is expected to be received by the state after all, and that once it is, our grant will be honored. Topsham's grant would pay for a cardiac monitor to be used by the community paramedic and a vehicle that she would use for her visits. The next regularly scheduled select board meeting will be held the evening of July 3rd. Town offices will be closed on July 4th to celebrate Independence Day. The transfer station will be happily open on July 5th to take all your holiday trash. And that's all we've got.
Great, thank you. All right, next up, board and committee reports and updates. We have an update from the Community Center Committee, co-chairs Steve Kessler and Lynn Steroid.
Good evening, Steve, and thank you. Yeah, good evening. Steve. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Lynn Sroy, the co-chair. Steve was not able to make it, so we have Allison Carey-Blay. She's our committee secretary. And we're going to give you our update as to what we've been working on. So first, I'd like to let you know that the committee's been meeting on a monthly basis with all of our members having been on the committee for over a year or more. And what we're doing tonight is giving you a brief recap from our last update to you. So I'm going to kind of break it down into months and we'll go from there. In January, we held a public forum for the community. During this time, we went over survey results and the committee work up to that point. We broke into small groups and discussed community needs and aspirations. We shared context about the two potential sites. In addition, we asked the community to rank elements of the community center that were important to them. Lastly, the groups participated in a design and concept mapping task. Moving on to February, we consolidated the survey and public forum results and began prioritizing aspects of high interest that the community would like to see incorporated into a community center.
In March, we began working on aspects of the conceptual design, and the committee also began brainstorming about what potential funding opportunities could look like. In April, the committee dug deep into the first design phase plans, focusing on a variety of areas, including making sure we are user-friendly and accessible to all ages, areas, and demographics. We asked Mark Lee from Harriman & Associates to refine the design with some of our updated requests, and he is currently working on an updated building design and the associated costs, which includes costs at both potential sites. Based on that community feedback, we are looking at options that include both a one-story building and a two-story building. The two-story building option would elevate the walking track so as not to interfere with any function happening on the courts below. While Harriman is working on their final report, we have started to look into funding options should we need them. We held a funding meeting in May with a few Topsham residents for general discussion. This gave us some great feedback as well as the people that would be interested in working should this phase be needed. In addition, we have reached out to a local fundraising consultant to find out what type of service and leadership they could provide in regards to a capital campaign if it came.
So to ensure that the Topsham residents are kept informed and updated on the progress of the committee, we created a fact sheet, which is available online and updated as changes are reached. There are also printed copies available here at the town office. And we also have postcards with a QR code that provides a quick access to the fact sheet. And that can be distributed at town events such as the recent town meeting. And we have also visited different community centers such as South Portland, Wiscasset, and St. John's in Brunswick to get an idea of setup and organizational structure. And that being said, we will continue with our monthly meetings, and we are welcome to any feedback or questions that you might have, anything we can help you with.
Have one, so what are the most popular features of the community center so far based on public feedback?
I think the walking track,
Walking track and a pool.
and pool.
Okay.
And closely behind that is just a general meeting area,
Mhm.
whether it be for Boy Scouts or personal use for someone wanting a place to have a birthday party, that sort of thing. And just overall a gathering place for people to have a general place to go, to be a part of the community.
I find it interesting that, oh, I'm sorry, I find it interesting that they were gonna have, the walking track on the second floor. The Hebron Academy has that and it works really well. I don't know if you've seen theirs.
That's YMCA has it.
Oh, that's YMCA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and South Portland does as well. So it's really nice, and like in South Portland, you go up the elevator and you come out, there's a little area to sit with cubbies, to change your shoes. Cause you definitely don't want outside shoes walking on an inside track.
Right.
And it's right there, and they go right around and it's safe.
Yeah.
Covered inside.
Interesting.
Of the sites that you looked at, did any one of them sort of stand out in terms of, fitting that design with what's being looked at here?
I think there are pluses and minuses to both sites. And I think we have come to the conclusion that we really need to have some more of those facts from Harriman's work before we can actually say which one is more promising for a potential location.
Both are big enough. They could accommodate any of the purposes that have been described.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for all your work. You've been working on this diligently for a long time, so thank you for getting correct facts and information to us. Appreciate it.
Try, thank you.
Any questions?
Awesome.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next up, public comment. Anyone? Correspondence? Nothing. There are no adjustments to the agenda. Next up, consent calendar. Approval of the minutes of the regular select board meeting held June 5th, 2025. Their motion.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Oh, you were still. Sorry, my left eye wasn't going that direction. Take me out. No public hearing, on to unfinished business. Article 2544, consideration and any appropriate action on a request to review chapter 150 marijuana business licensing.
At your last meeting, you directed us to consider some potential or more than one questions for the November ballot. And our interns anxiously set to work on that project. So I'd like to call up Amaya and Miles to describe the results.
I wonder how you're gonna handle that.
Yeah, I made like maybe.
Oh, no.
So that way. I'm Miles and,
I'm Amaya.
yeah, so we looked into this, we looked at both some state legislation. The major change from that being cannabis as opposed to marijuana is what's being used these days. And then we found, I think it was the 2018 ballot, where the question was initially asked, and that was where the town decided that they only wanted medical and, medicinal, and they wanted it to be limited to 2. So we made our questions based on that language. So it's the paragraph that you see at the top, and then the questions are kind of mirroring that same language.
The 2018 ballot only has the first question, or something equivalent to that, but we thought that it might be helpful to have both, just so that we have
maybe some kind of direction for you on how the towns would look to regulate it if they do, include.
Yeah, we thought that it would be good to ask a second question of all voters rather than just the voters who indicated that they would want adult use recreational cannabis, because everyone should get a vote on, you know, if it's going to be okay by the town, that they should be able to limit it to two, so. Are there any questions on what we have written?
I think it's well written. I think just the way it is sounds good to me. Thank you. Good job.
I had one question. Are there any other towns that have taken this route where they've gone from medicinal to both? Did you see any of that, or was that anything that you were looking at?
We didn't really look into that specifically. I assume that that's probably happened.
Yeah, just concerned about how you sort of change the enforcement environment, you know, sort of on the day you switch over and things like that, and how.
Yeah, that's something that we'll
Yeah, we were-
probably want to further look into.
Yeah, we were considering.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
So kind of what we discussed is their task for right now is to come up with a wording. But then they were developing a list of projects they can choose from this summer. And one of the ones they could choose from if they want is to research and how other towns are regulating it. There may be ours we found out using it procedurally isn't as clear as it could be at times. So over the course of the summer, we'll do some research so that based on these results, we'll be ready to draft some new proposed things back in before the town meeting. Another thing they'll look at is how the licenses are assigned. My capitalist background would like to say auction them off if we were going to do it to get the most revenue for the town. But there's been court cases that say your fees are supposed to be related to what it costs to actually manage it. So my capitalist background doesn't work on that. But it could, some places have lotteries, some places have other systems. Part of their, if they choose to do the project, they would look at what other towns are doing in that.
Oh, great presentation.
You call it the intern, Roland.
So it's giving us some seeds to think about in terms of
Yeah.
what's next.
We will.
Because when you said enforce, my ears perked up, because I'm like, you know, hopefully that's not gonna be like a concern, you know, just because something wasn't thought of.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks very much. All right, Article 25, 26, consideration.
Okay.
Did I miss something?
So we need a motion
Oh,
for the ballot.
oh, I'm sorry. Such a good presentation, I forgot all play.
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to instruct the town clerk to incorporate the recreational cannabis questions as constructed in today's agenda on the November 2025 ballot.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, on 25, 26, consideration of any appropriate action to review and accept a draft policy on attendance and related issues for boards and committees.
So after your last meeting, I took the comments that people were making at the meeting, as well as I went through and reviewed the written comments that people had submitted in advance of the meeting. I also had a phone call with Attorney Saucier because some of the comments raised by the planning board, where they were asking about whether we could have guidelines in an area that is sort of covered by their statute that sets up, or their ordinance that sets up the planning board. The town attorney said that anything we proposed was not inconsistent with what was already in the ordinance, so that it would be permissible to do what's been suggested. And then I looked over to see if I could try to find middle ground that would satisfy most or some people. There were some comments that the policy seemed too heavy-handed, so I added some language into it that basically talks about how we appreciate the work of the volunteers. There were some people that were concerned about the fact that the limit of missing the meetings of 25% applied to both excused and unexcused. So I've proposed in here increasing it to 33%, or 1/3 of the meetings. In response to some of the comments that the policy seemed too harsh, I added some intermediate steps that allow the select board to have the town manager inquire into the reason for the absences. And if you're satisfied with those, then we don't have to go to the step of the formal letter and starting the removal process. And the town attorney had recommended that we not have different standards for different committees. But one thing that I think came up in our discussions at the last meeting was that some of our committees don't meet very often, like our zoning board of appeals might only meet twice a year or sometimes not even that. So if it comes out during the indirect inquiry that the person only missed one meeting, but it was 50% for that reason, then you could just say, okay, you're satisfied with that at that point. There was some concern that the prohibition of email meetings prohibits people from doing work. We've clarified in the policy that there's no reason that members of a committee can't get together to work on something between meetings. And they could do it by email. There just has to be less than a quorum doing it. And then if they're going to work on something, they need to bring it back to the public meeting where there is a quorum of the committee, and then the public could know and participate in discussions. And then the last piece that I tried to clarify was external communications. There was some concern that this might be an attempt to say control what the planning board does or something, which certainly was not the intent of the policy. So we explained further that if there's something in this policy that comes in conflict with the statutory or ordinance defined duties of a committee, the ordinance or the statute control, not this policy. And then, for instance, the planning board has a job where they're supposed to render opinions on proposed zoning. So they can do so and they don't need to get permission to do that. But they don't have a job where they're supposed to say render positions on a proposed tax cap or something, so that they wouldn't be able to do without select board permission. And all this is just suggestions, and feel free to edit as you will.
I really appreciated you adding the beginning disclaimer that said how much we appreciate their dedicated volunteers. I think that was a really good addition. I don't have any problems with the percentages or numbers. We originally wanted 20 and then we upped it to 25 and now it's a third. So that means they would have to miss a meeting that meets once a month, would have to miss over 4 meetings. They could miss up to 4. So it's not so stringent that people are going to be like being asked to do committees on a regular basis. So I thought that was really good. I did want to suggest one addition to section C. And Patty, I did write it down for you if it does pass, if we do decide to go with it. I wanted to state for clarity purposes, individual committee members are free to take positions as individuals, but cannot use their committee affiliation in that correspondence. So we're not saying that members of committees can't write to their legislators and do things. They just can't represent the town by saying my name is, Bill Smith and I'm on this committee and this is what we think. Unless they come through the select board. So that's just my suggestion. Because everyone's free to give their opinion as individuals. Any comments on that, thoughts?
I am still not convinced that this policy is necessary. With that said, I think Mark did an excellent job
I do
of
too.
compromising between the differing opinions on the board, and I'm fully behind what he's provided, especially what you just provided as well. So yeah, I think we're good, at least in my opinion, which I'm offering because I can.
Any other comments?
Yeah, in reading through this, I really think 2 big changes were really, it kind of shifts everything. And the first of it is the first section of the goal. I think it really needed to be stated, and you did a good job clarifying that, because in an effort to avoid miscommunication, confusion over responsibilities, and potential conflicts, the purpose of this policy is to set forth expectations for committee service. I do think that is imperative in this policy, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're not trying to control. We're not trying to take over. We're trying to just set a level of expectations for people when they come into a committee, so that it flows evenly with what the town is looking for. So I think that was a very big part. And then in letter E, part of the feedback that I had heard from some of the committee members outside of this meeting was, it's really hard to conduct work only at a meeting, and we need to make phone calls to each other. We need to send emails to each other. We need to do that stuff. And I think the section that you added about it does not prohibit a group of committee members, which is less than a quorum of the committee, from working on a document. Usually if somebody is assigned a certain task, they can email somebody else or have a phone call with somebody else or a couple of people, not meet that quorum, still get what they need for information, and then bring it back to the committee, where the intent is that
it's discussed publicly in a public forum. So I think that was a great highlight of some of the additions to this, but I am, and I think I've made this pretty clear, but I'm in favor of having a policy like this or this exact policy for just the idea that we can set the expectation of committee work so that committee members know what they're getting into when they first start. It's not kind of a falsified, well, I think it's gonna be this, and then it turns into something else. I think when we can spell it out for people, it really helps them understand what's expected of them so that we can all get the best work out of everyone.
I also wanted to add that, that it's perfectly fine for everyone on the committee to have an email for scheduling purposes. This is only about conducting business and making decisions, correct? So everybody can be addressed in one email. If it's just, let's have a meeting on this day at this time, that's not part of this whole policy.
Any comments?
No.
Okay, motion please.
Do we want to do it as amended?
As amended.
Okay,
There is one.
I'm looking for the actual. Okay, I make a motion that we accept the policy on, help me out here, both. I'm in the wrong section.
Proposed board.
As drafted by the town manager.
By the
With the
town,
addition
you
of your
give it the
sentence.
addition and pass this to Patty, that's the addition.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, 2548, consideration of any appropriate action on discussing if the select board would be in favor of paying the county tax in 2 installments instead of one lump sum.
So you remember at the last meeting that the county was supposed to come back with some further information, and then they asked for us what the cost would be to us to pay, to have to give the money up all in one payment. You've got a memo from Finance Director Ricker, where she suggested we would be losing tens of thousands of dollars.
You can do it or not.
If we pay in one payment, we make less interest than if we held on to the money. Since I discussed with County Treasurer Eaton, as well as County Administrator Jones, the fact that certainly from the Topsham's perspective, we're better off splitting it out so we can get the interest, understanding that it doesn't work so well for them. They said, and then in the meantime, a statute was passed, at least by the legislature. I don't know if the governor signed it yet, but says as of next year, the county commissioners have the ability to split the payment up into 2, 3, or 4 payments. But both Treasurer Eaton and Administrator Jones indicated that they're going to talk with the commissioners. They believe they're willing to engage us in discussion. So for the purposes of all we needed right now, it was just general sense. If we had the choice, that would Topsham prefer to pay it in 2? And then we will continue discussions over the next year with the other towns and county to try to find a way, something that works for everyone. So what I'd be looking for tonight is basically just permission to report back to Woolwich that Topsham would like to do it in 2 if possible. And that would continue discussions with everyone to try to find a mutually beneficial resolution.
I strongly make a motion. To authorize, to authorize the town manager to inform Saginaw County and the other county municipalities that Topsham would prefer to pay its county tax in 2 installments and work with county administration to see if a mutually beneficial payment schedule can be developed for FY 2027. Second.
Works for me. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, on to new business. 2549, consideration of any appropriate action to accept the Community Resilience Partnership Community Action Grant provided by the Governor's Office of Policy Innovation and the Future. I'm not going to talk about this acronym here. Go PIF. In the amount of $69,038 for the purpose of improving safety on Topsham roadways through various methods described and referenced in the grant application.
And Brian Banton, the chair of the Bike and Pedestrian Committee, is here to address you.
Good evening.
The last time I was here back in the fall, I asked you for permission to apply for a grant, and we did that. We applied back in December, and last month we found out that we were awarded the full amount of the grant. So we're pretty excited, ready to get to work. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Motion,
I think
please.
he wanted to.
Actually, I just want to add one little thing. The last time I was here, you folks extended or set our term at 2 years from whenever I was here in front of you.
Mhm.
The term of the grant is 2 years from May 14th,
Tomorrow. Mhm.
from tomorrow. Okay, so I just wanted to offer that little bit of information.
Good
You
time.
may want to adjust the deadline of the charge.
Yeah, we can do that. We don't have to do that now. It's 2 years away, but we can do
Right, I
that.
just wanted to just.
I think you were looking for volunteers too, is it?
So yeah, one of the first things that we need to do is develop a steering committee for our, a steering committee, a grant steering committee. So the grant steering committee can consist of several town staff and I believe up to 2 select board members as well. So it would be wonderful to have a full complement of steering committee members. So I believe the number is 2 select board members.
Couldn't be 3 because it would become a select board meeting.
We can't.
Be a violation of committee policy.
Yeah. So how often would the steering committee meet, do you envision?
So, I mean, we typically meet once a month. That may, so there's a public engagement. It may be adjusted, and I think we need to figure that out. And part of that will probably be with the consultants. But we're gonna get, presuming you folks give us the go ahead, we're gonna get together with chief and get together an RFP. That's our other immediate term task. Be nice to get a steering committee together, get our RFP out the door, and then a couple other little things to buy our black boxes right away. Right, chief? Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
All right, the motion?
I make a motion to accept the Community Resilience Partnership Community Action Grant provided by the Governor's Office of Policy Innovation and Future in the amount of $69,038 for the purpose of improving safety on Topsham roadways through various methods described and referenced in the grant application.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous? All right, 2550, consideration and any appropriate action on acceptance of a non-matching grant of $2,924 from the Department of Safety.
Chief Aiken's here to address.
Good evening, Mark Aiken, Chief of Police. So every year, Department of Public Safety awards funding to law enforcement agencies based on our annual numbers and crime stats, basically. So this year, the Topsham award is $2,924. It's a non-matching amount, and we're just going to award it to us. All we have to do is say we're going to take it and we'll receive it. We're looking at using it towards a smart board, excuse me, a Promethean style smart board for our training room, which also serves as our EOC set in some type of crisis, as well as we use it during training. So basically, I'm just requesting that the town vote to accept $2,924 in non-matching grant funding.
Any questions? Oh, your motion.
Sure. Oh, you have a question? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna make a motion. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to accept a non-matching grant of $2,924 from the Department of Public Safety for a Promethean-style smart board for training and emergency operations center.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Thank you.
2551, consideration and any appropriate action to set a public hearing for July 5th, 2025 on the proposed increase for compacted mixed solid waste to $210 per ton and the fee for non-compacted bulk solid waste to $30 per ton.
Can I ask that we change that to July 3rd?
Absolutely.
Because I put the wrong.
It'll be
date
kind of
on.
hard to do it on Saturday, wouldn't it?
Ed would come on a Saturday, but the rest of us might not want to be here.
And is that the second part?
Is it all one or is it two separate pieces? The part about the
Hours.
hours.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, to set the operation of hours for the transfer station to 8 AM to 5 PM, Tuesday through Saturday, year round, excluding holidays when it's closed. Yeah.
Ed Karen, solid waste director, yes, these are my legs, I'm not riding an ostrich. The reason we have this, before you is that we're starting a new contract July first, so the increase has gone up, so we need to make sure that we raise our prices to cover that cost and then the transportation overlays. The compact, the non-compacted, bulk load from $24 to $38 just reflects the coming 3 years of our contract. And we don't feel that we can raise the price of it. It's a major issue, so do the best we can do. We've already adjusted the bags, prices for other bags, so those are covering those costs, which is working well. And other than that, right now is the transfer station, my two employees have worked with the union and they were convincing in how we really don't have anybody show up. And so that hour after, in the summer hours, we might have 2 people show up. The other day, I think we had 1 that showed up at 2 minutes to closing. But we could better use that hour of time in the mornings with all of us together to get things done. I think we'll get more done productive wise in the course of that time than just hang around for an hour just waiting for someone to come in. That's all I got.
And the hour change would not need a public hearing, but the fee change does need one.
You changed things.
Okay, any questions?
And that would be effective July 1st as well.
Perfect.
We're just voting on whether or not to have a public hearing. Or we're voting on whether or not a public hearing for the price change, but we can vote on the hour change.
Exactly.
All right, well, I guess I'll make a motion.
We were waiting for you.
To set a public hearing for July 3rd, 2025 on the proposed increase for compacted mixed solid waste to $210 per ton. And the fee for non-compacted bulk waste, solid waste to $30 per yard.
And that's it.
Second that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor. Okay,
Cool. And then the second one.
Make a motion to set the operating hours of the transfer station at 8 AM to 5 PM, Tuesday through Saturday, year round, excluding holidays when it's closed.
moved and seconded, all in favor. Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Who's all out of motions? We need the final motion.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
He didn't even ask.
That was a pseudo hopeful yes, right? Okay.
Matt had 2 hands up, it's fine.
Literally vote off.
30 minutes.
Yep. It's good.
Okay, I didn't.